MCIS was started in 1989 by a group of very passionate community organizers who wanted to ensure that immigrant women who were settling in Scarborough had access to services, especially when they were in situations of domestic violence. We had about 25 interpreters and 40 agencies, I believe, that we served at that time. Soon after I started there, I found out that our funding was precarious and was about to be cut. We were very lucky that we had the community rally around us and ensure that the funding was not cut and continued year after year. But we knew that we couldn't continue in that vein and we needed to find some sustainability. We also wanted to increase the scope of the services to include other vulnerable populations. Today, as you all know, probably, we are a thriving social enterprise. We have over 700 customers in the broader public sector. And all of this has been possible because of the wonderful staff and board and the 6,000 language professionals that we have engaged with over the years.
When I started here at MCIS, back it was 1998, the immigration process was still fairly new. So the access to resources was not so readily available. So we started a resource manual to call an agency who was willing to put 5 seconds of their time and say, oh, you can go to, say, Scarborough Center for Alternative Studies for continuing education. Or you could go to Scarborough Women's Center, they will help you. Just by simple suggestion as to where they can go to get help it was such an amazing thing to be able to do for people, because even though our companies provide services, that's not all we do. And I think that's how eventually social enterprise just evolved and grew, and now it has a name. It didn't have a name then.
What I have noticed over the past few years, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, is that it has diversified a lot because we interact with content in many different forms. We work with a lot of media, and that has also diversified the kinds of services. So it's not just traditional document translation. We are now talking about audio-visual translation in all its different forms. And we are now moving into the more dynamic content, where we're talking localization of websites and software and applications and trainings.
Once MCIS started providing free services, like we budgeted a certain amount to provide free services directly to the non-English speaking people. The biggest things that we used to see was people will come and they will say, I need interpretation services, what do I do? And because we provided services to the service providers or to the agencies, who in turn provide service to the non-English speaking people, it was kind of a bit of a situation where do we provide the service directly to the person or to the agency? But now that we are actually allocating money to provide service directly to the person who actually needs it and is telling you, I need help. How do I get help? So I am very happy to say, okay, you need help. Who are you going to see? I will make sure that I send you an interpreter.
Basically, we started having everything centralized. But now, due to the unique needs for each of our business units, we were actually forced to branch off. We actually had the need to create specific service delivery platforms for each of our business units. The one that is good is that we take advantage of what the industry is doing out there. We are not reinventing the wheel. We are taking advantage of the knowledge that comes from the language services industry. And I have to say that with these recent implementations, BlueNet and Interpreting Intelligence, we have learned a lot on how to operationalize the delivery of language services. But sometimes when we actually have all that creative thinking from our end, we might face a roadblock with those technology partners, which is good and bad at the same time, because they also help us to put things into perspective. Why do we need to do something that complex or something in a very particular way if all the other players in the industry are doing things in a different way? Sometimes the way how system implementation works in most of the cases is that you create a system that fits your processes. But sometimes it happens the other way around. Sometimes it's the solution that forces you to change your internal processes in order to become more efficient. And this is basically what we have been doing over these last few years.
When I first joined MCIS in 2011, the translation department where I started was only staffed by 2 people. The training department only offered in-class community interpreter training and advanced court interpreting training. Those were the only 2. The Interpretation Services Department, or IS, was the most mature department, but we didn't have an IT department, we didn't have vendor management, sales and marketing was just emerging, and recruitment was handled by training. Fast forward to today, the most notable changes, I believe, translation revenue is about 15 times what it was before. In training, we have all sorts of classroom and online-based training offerings now, and we're starting B2B partnerships in training, which is very exciting. And right now, I believe MCIS has the right people, the right willingness, and the right mentality to propel it to the global stage. And at the same time, the right people to also anchor it to its origin, which is to serve the vulnerable people in societies.
I have learned a lot about technology because as our company has evolved and is entering what's going to be one of the most disruptive eras of our time with the advent of AI, we are going to have to learn very quickly and adapt. MCIS has actually helped me gain national attention. I won a national award from the Legal Education and Action Fund as one of 15 women in Canada, lawyers that is, who have helped improve the lives of women and children. And most recently, I received a national award from the Royal Bank of Canada under the Women of Influence Social Change category. And yeah, that has been a huge personal benefit for me, but I don't attribute it to myself, but more to the work that MCIS does.
Just the opportunity to interact with people who are so diverse that oftentimes has challenged me in my way of thinking about the world, of seeing the world. Professionally, I've obviously had tremendous opportunities to learn, and I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity, both formally through MCIS's investment in people's personal and professional development. So I'm definitely grateful for that, but more importantly from the people I work with every day.
But to get to know people on a personal basis, people from all over the world, that had a huge impact on me. And to see how we think we're different, we're not so different after all. Our color of skin may be different, the way we look may be different, but underneath we're all the same. We have the same need. The need to succeed, the need to be healthy, the need to achieve. All of our needs are the same. And in a way, it's really shaped me to open my mind even wider and see people for who they are and love people for who they are.
MCIS, although is not a huge organization, has given us all the chance to explore different aspects of our professional lives. Because the thing is, although I was hired as an IT and internal operations specialist, I feel that I can possibly handle a service delivery department for translation and interpretation services. And this is something that by itself is an excellent learning opportunity that I had that, in all honesty, I never had before.
And it was through MCIS's network that I was able to connect with York University, enter and complete my master's degree in conference interpreting. Without MCIS, I wouldn't be a marketing manager today. I wouldn't be a conference interpreter or translator today. And it's taught me the wonders of the world's languages. I can distinguish between written Russian and Ukrainian and Hindi and Punjabi. So MCIS has made me a cosmopolitan person, and I'm a global citizen because of MCIS.
MCIS is now a national organization, but it has the potential to be global. This is because we have resources right here in our communities from all the possible linguistic communities across the world, and we do have training programs, and we train interpreters and translators and all kinds of language professionals. And more with services being geography agnostic and more technology being available, we are able to actually provide services to the globe and become a global organization and become virtually a multilingual hub for the world right here in Toronto.